What's up guys, it's Endymion, and today I wanted to make a video about something that will probably not go over very well with fans of this particular franchise, but that's fine. Every year a deluge of video games come out from various publishers, and the consumers of the world either respond kindly and that franchise grows, or a game is left in the dust forever to be forgotten by the gaming community for any number of reasons. This video could have been easy for me, and I could have picked an easy game to make this on, like Dark Alliance or Balan Wonderworld, but the truth is, I didn't play either of those games, because I like to think I have good judgment when it comes to what games I buy at full price and what I actually support. But this game in question, I got screwed. There has been a handful of times in my past where I played something that is so disappointing that it makes me genuinely depressed that I spent not only my money, but my time investing into an experience. And that's what today's video is all about. Today I want to talk about the worst game I've played all year. No, the most disappointing and soul-crushingly bizarre game I had the displeasure of experiencing in 2021. Today, it's all about the anticipated sequel to one of my favorite games of the 2000s, Neo: The World Ends With You. Look, I already know and expect that the fans of The World Ends With You will want to crucify me for this, but hear me out before you nuke me. I'm a massive fan of this series. I thought the original game was amazing, unique, and fresh as hell. So when I saw that a sequel to a game I've played in high school, God I'm old, was coming seemingly out of nowhere, I got super hyped. And then I played Neo, and my soul flattened, and my eyes dimmed. I had buyer's remorse almost equivalent to a game I played in my past that was so disappointing, I actually almost stopped playing video games altogether, but that game, I'll leave that one for another time. So why do I think Neo is the worst game of the year? A lot of reasons. The first major reason that I want to get out of the way is, well, its launch price. When you look at this game, if you don't know already, I want you to imagine how much you think this game was at launch. If your brain is saying $40 at best, I would agree with you, but no. Neo: The World Ends With You and its publisher developer Square Enix looked at this game and made the moronic decision to launch this game at full price on PlayStation and Switch. That's right, believe it or not, Neo was $80 Canadian at launch. $80 freaking dollars. And I know what some people are thinking, well, you can't compare Neo to other full price games because it's a different experience, it's niche, etc., but I disagree with that. The moment you believe it's justified to price your product in the same vein as other products of the same cost, you can and should be judged against those games. You can get great looking, amazingly fun to play games full of personality and style like Kena: Bridge of Spirits, which at launch was $50 Canadian. And that game, in my opinion, justifies its price. You can also get great turn-based RPG games like Ruined King for $40 Canadian. And get roughly 30 to 40 hours out of the experience like I did when I recently got the platinum for Ruined King and enjoy it. Bugs and some performance issues aside. But the fact Square Enix looked at Neo and said, yeah, this should be the same price as Final Fantasy VII Remake just shows from the get-go that they lost the plot. This game would have performed better and been way more reasonable to experience at launch if it was $40 at best. I would even say 30, but let's go with 40. But I hear people already saying you can't quantify what a game's price and enjoyment is worth because everyone is different. And you're right, but apparently anyone who bought Neo is in the minority too. As it was recently reported that Neo sold well below sales expectations, and it was also reported a few weeks after the game launched that just in Japan, the game on both Switch and PlayStation sold a combined total of 28,000 units. That's horrible for a game like this that costs this much. Like, really bad. So I'm clearly not the only person who took one look at this game, saw the full price tag, and just went, what? But then again, I'm a fanboy of the franchise, so I jumped in, but the problems do not stop there, unfortunately. Not only was the game wildly overpriced for what it was offering, the world was small, and the presentation of the game looked like a mobile game at best. I would even say mobile games look better than this. I'm not saying a game needs a massive open world to justify its price, absolutely not, but Neo's world is just a collection of linear city environments with little to barely any interaction within them. You just run around. There's no mini games in any of the buildings. There's no interesting gameplay ideas outside of maybe clicking stuff on a screen here or there, and it just all genuinely feels like low quality, minimal, and bare bones at best. Games like Yakuza Like a Dragon, which is amazing by the way, have a decently sized open world in them. Yakuza's environment is by no means as big as say The Witcher 3 or Spider-Man's, but that's fine because Rio Studio is smart with how they use the space within their Yakuza games, filling them with interesting side stories, fun mini games, arcades, and actual quality stuff to do while exploring. Neo's world feels like you're window shopping. Here's all these buildings and weird angles to run around in, but you can't interact with anything basically. Besides a clothing store to buy equipment to increase your survivability in combat, which is basic level RPG stuff, there's not much to do in the world outside of its plot. I will say the one thing I really do enjoy about Neo though is that its aesthetic is very unique, and I still dig the idea of having to eat food to increase your stats. I really like that idea. But outside of picking food from a menu or what pair of jeans to buy for your team, the world just feels empty and restrictive, and it's hampered by constant load screens between areas, no doubt because the game was released on Switch and it needed to accommodate that. But besides the world of Neo, there's the combat, which is fine. It's not great, it's not going to win Action RPG of the Year anywhere, and it mostly just feels like you're mashing buttons and killing stuff. The enemies are also kind of bland and repetitive, there isn't that much variety in them, and a lot of the pins you use as attacks, they don't differ much based on what button or class they're really assigned to. One pin could have you slicing with a sword, and the next pin you get that goes on the same button is the same animation, it's the same sword, but now it's wind elemental. Oh wow, just, surface level boring stuff in my opinion. So the world kinda sucks, the gameplay is average at best, but what about the story? Well, I got to the last week of this game's story before my brain finally said enough is enough, and I just simply quit the game. The abuse was enough at this point, as I had already sunk 20-ish hours into an experience I was forcing myself to play since I loved the original game and I paid full price for this one, so that was nice. But anyway, the story is also similar to the original game. You're in the Reaper games again, you're a new player and you gotta win or you'll be erased. And for me, the characters just didn't stick. Rindo, the hero, he's fine, I think his design is interesting, but his two friends, Nagi and his best friend, who I had to actually Google because I legitimately forgot his name, it's Fret by the way, are largely forgettable for me. There's also these mechanics where each hero has a unique power, and I roll my eyes even considering it that at all, but Nagi can dive into people's heads, which just basically results in a standard battle. And Fred can do a slightly amusing puzzle minigame where you focus someone's mind by making a photo in their head. It's okay. But then there's Rindo, whose main power was insulting. See, I guess spoilers, but not really. Whatever. Rindo, he can control time, which may seem cool on the surface, but it really isn't. Basically, what the majority of the plots of these Reaper games ends up being is you running around the same areas constantly looking for clues in the environment, reaching the end of that specific day, and then something happens that results in Rindo and his team getting their cheeks clapped. And then Rindo rewinds time and you play through the exact same day you just did again, but now you make the real choices that will actually lead to a different outcome. To some, this may seem witty or clever, but to me, it's just an arbitrary way for the developers to pad out their game and make you play through any given day in the game twice instead of once and moving on. And it lessens the stakes because you know that on any given day what you're doing won't matter anyway initially, since Rindo will just rewind time and then the game will push you in a straightforward manner to go talk to this guy or lie to this person so they go do something else so they're not there for the major boss fight at the end of the day so you have a chance. It's also basic and repetitive and boring and mind-numbing, and it happens way too often. I genuinely hate time mechanics in any game. I just think they're implemented to mask the fact that the game has less content than what is expected, and developers use time mechanics to make players replay stuff they already have so the game seems more complicated and full than it actually is. Like, it's basically as if you're playing through an entire dungeon in a game and you reach the end only for the game to rewind and make you play the dungeon again. But now the enemy has slightly different dialogue and you begrudgingly get through it only to arrive at the same boss fight you arrived at before, but you had to suffer through the same thing twice so the outcome reaches the typical we win outcome scenario. It's just stupid, man, and it happens far too often in this game. And when you combine it with the lackluster combat, window shopping designed world exploration, and most of the abilities you use are just basically a color element swap, it just makes for a miserable experience. Also, I know this is probably another unpopular opinion for this game, but I mean, I'm gonna get crucified for this anyway, so might as well really drive the nails deep at this point. I thought the majority of the music was pretty forgettable and annoying too. I know it's the same composer, but maybe this style of music was better received by me when I was a young teenager. I would show you the music, but I don't want a copyright claim, so if you're interested in hearing it, go on YouTube, I guess, and search it. I don't really know what else I need to say here, but ultimately, Neo: The World Ends With You is a bafflingly inept, bizarrely priced, and shallow experience that didn't connect with me at all and was largely and understandably so ignored by the large majority of the gaming community based on its sales. Look, I love Square Enix games, well, most of them, not the Quiet Man or Balan Wonderworld, but even Square can miss, and Neo doesn't just miss. It crushed my soul with how disappointing and lame it really was. Do I care that I never properly beat the game? Not really. I don't care what implications or what other cameo the game has later on, because to me, in the end, as a World Ends With You fanboy, this game simply doesn't exist. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the worst and most disappointing game for me in 2021. Well, that was nice. Let me know how wrong and stupid I am in the comments. I would love to read it. And if you made it this far without getting angry, thank you for watching and understanding that this is simply my opinion. If you loved Neo, I'm happy for you. Really, I wish I did, but I've had stomach aches more enjoyable than this game. If you're new here, consider subscribing and liking the video or disliking to give my life meaning. And comment below what your most disappointing game was this year, and a big shout out to my patrons for their support. If you want to support me, well, after this video, I'm sure many will hate me. Well, the link is below. I'm ENDYMION. The next video will likely be the 10 best games I've played this year, so that video will be much more positive than this one. So I hope you look forward to that. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and I'll see you in the next one.